Putting ignorance to sleep. We just read in chapter 119, verse 25, right? Jesus saying you cannot make a bed to fit the form of every man. Of course, religious people today would tell you that is the words of a devil, as the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes called Jesus. But in actuality, you have to remember that God is not partial. What does that mean? It means that everything is truth, believe it or not, folks. Everything is truth, simply by its existence. Now, where it comes to discernment, you have to know that you have subjective truth, i.e. from the ego, and you have objective truth, i.e. from God. Subjective truth I would put as 100 on the scale. If you can imagine a scale in your head from 0 to 100. 0 having no ego, complete objectiveness. 100 complete subjectiveness. Doesn't mean that one is wrong and one is right. One is true, one is false. They're all true. Reason I talk about this is because I want to talk about the Bible. Did you know that the Bible is a collection of books? Yeah. If you did know that, did you know who collected those books? Your King James Version, etc., etc. Did you know there are books that are not in the Bible? The Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Mary Magdalene herself. Now, who brought these collections of books into one Bible? None other than the Emperor Constantine and his Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, about 300 years after Christ passed away and rose from the dead. So about 300 years after Jesus left this earth, that's when the Bible that we have today was brought into concrete collection. So there were books that were omitted and there were books that were submitted. But people don't know that. People actually think the book dropped from the sky as it is. End of story. No expansion from that. I was on YouTube commenting a video about TD Jakes being exposed. Exposed as what? I don't know. I'm guessing the devil, innit? Rah! Now, what I was talking about, of course, was this beautiful Aquarian gospel of Jesus the Christ that I have come to know and been blessed with. Of course, you had somebody, a Christian, who thought they were fighting God's corner, just as the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes thought, come out and actually mock this beautiful book. And then went on further to say that I should follow the Holy Spirit. Yeah, we've never met, never had the conversation. But that's religious folks for you, mate. Now, I simply responded to that person, asking them why they trust Constantine and his Council of Nicaea so much, for one. For two, who on earth charged that person to decide who is seeking the Holy Spirit and who is not? You see, where it comes to dogma, you might be committing suicide. Suicide to the soul. Because God is not partial, he is impartial, hence omnipresent. You have no right to decide what's pseudo and what's not. Because actually there is no such thing as false. It's all true. What resonates for me may not resonate for you. That doesn't mean mine is wrong and yours is right. Vice versa. They're all right. I'm taking my own time out here recording this book for those who don't necessarily like to read, but I do find it in me to record it and to spread it. Even if one person watches it, even if one person finds out about the book, just from my messages, I'm done. I'm good. Because what resonates for me may not resonate for you. But then you have people who believe that there is such thing as true and false. And you know what that does to your soul? Strangles it. Doesn't allow it to expand. Doesn't allow it to develop. You know the people I'm talking about. They don't want to hear it unless it's in the Bible. They don't want to hear it unless it's in the Quran. It's not my problem, it's theirs. But I do take grievance to such judgments that my book is beneath your book, or even my book is above your book. God is one. There's no such thing as above and below. That's just something man has constructed through his 3D mind. But guess what? As Jesus said, he came here to be pattern for men. I.e., what he can do, we can do. If we trust ourselves enough. If we can transcend the dogma. Don't think it's just dogmatic to be religious. Non-religious people as well can be dogmatic. Everything is true. There's no falsehood. But there is ego. Hence subjective truth and objective truth. If you were to ask me where I am on that scale, I will honestly tell you I'm around 70, 75. So I'm basically leaning more towards subjectiveness. But the name of the game is to bring it down to balance, isn't it? I do have experiences where I get into God perspective, 0. And I know too well that you can never be sure. To be sure is to be naive. That's why you need to call upon a discerning heart. And that is simply knowing subjective truth and objective truth. Now, of course, after I responded to the person, I wouldn't say I was harsh, but I did say that, you know, they were utterly foolish, and their utter foolishness is what caused grief to my ancestors. I haven't got a response back. I wasn't expecting a response. They probably realized they don't know who they're messing with. But at the end of the day, you got many, 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 many more people who are persecuted, prosecuted. Look in the Middle East. All because people don't understand and they cannot transcend. And it takes you back to that parable Jesus spoke of about the wheat and the tares, I believe. The fact that he came once, people sort of got the message, and they got confused with the religiosity of everything. And he's now going to have to come back and straighten everything out once and for all. We are everlasting beings. We were born in the 20th century, most of us. But trust me, there was much more before, and there's much more after. So please, let us not commit suicide to the soul. If you don't agree with me, that is great. If I don't agree with you, that is great. But remember, as I've said before, to understand is not to agree. It is to accept. Once we've all got our heads around that, we can all love each other. Not because we look the same, not because we do the same things, not because we like the same things, but simply because we accept. And today we have people who judge people like me because their God is Constantine and his Council of Nicaea. But I'm slowly and surely putting ignorance to sleep. because I could be that Constantine. I could decide to influence people, tell them my way is the right way, other ways are wrong, put together collections of books, my own writings, blah, blah, blah. And guess what would happen in generations to come? Death. Death of the soul. But I know better. We all know better. But it's about applying our knowledge, doing the right thing, not to better ourselves, but to better all, because we are part of that, remember, 1, O, 0, God perspective.